Hi there, it's Nicole with an elephant card featuring the W+9 Bubble Thoughts stamp set, as well as some Mama Elephant stamp sets with those cute little balloons there. I kind of combined several things. To start my card, I'm going to stamp, or rather die cut, the frame for my card. And I'm using both the largest and then the next largest stitched rectangle frames from the Simon Says Stamp Stitched Squares. And this is going to create one of the frames for my card, as well as the inside piece. The inside piece is what I'm going to do all my stamping and coloring on, and then that outside piece is going to be one of the frames that I use to build up the frames to frame up this scene. Now I am using the elephant from the Bubble Thoughts stamp set, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp him on this square using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and then I'm going to use one of the greetings from the Unforgettable W+9 stamp set that says, "So sorry, oh so very sorry I forgot." This is going to be a birthday themed card, so I will stamp an additional greeting on the inside of the card, and we'll do that a little bit later in the video. Now I'm preparing my scrubber pad. I've got some Ultra Clean that I've got there, as well as my scrubber pad. That is because I've used this balloon stamp before and it had some residue on it, and I was afraid that it was going to transfer when I picked up the ink. So I went ahead and cleaned it really good before I stamped my first balloon, as well as stamped it off on a scrap piece of paper several times just to make sure it was really nice and clean. And I am using the My Favorite Things hybrid inks here for this card. This is the second card that I created that is exactly this design. The first one I created when I was away from home with some friends and I had tried out the new Ranger inks. So I tried to find some ink colors that I had in my stash personally that were kind of similar. So this is what I found that was closest. I wanted really bright primary balloons. I love that this Mama Elephant balloon etc. stamp set has the cute little balloon tails that you can stamp to coordinate with the balloons themselves. I am using the Lemon Drop, Orange Fizz, Wild Cherry, Gumdrop Green, as well as the Tropical Teal inks. And I'm going to stamp all of these kind of in that upper 2/3 right corner of my card. Now I didn't think the green stamped very good the first time, so I went ahead and stamped it directly over the first image again to get a much more clean, crisp image. And then finally I'll stamp that tropical teal balloon. Go ahead and press that in the corner and add the little balloon tail. Now I am going to be Copic coloring everything else on this card, including the background. So I could either wait and draw the balloon tails in after I've colored because I don't want any ink to bleed, or if you use a Copic multi-liner, they will not bleed. So I went ahead and drew in my balloon tails before coloring. And I'm simply using this Copic multi-liner to draw these little balloon tails in so it looks like the elephant is holding this little bouquet of balloons in its trunk. I am going to use some warm gray markers now to color in my elephant. I'm using Warm Gray 1 as my base color, and I'll go ahead and color in my entire elephant and before I move on to the next color. I stayed below Warm Gray 5, so Warm Gray 5 is going to be the very darkest I use for this particular elephant. I really like the warm grays for critters. I think it has a little more brown to it. The cool grays tend to have a little bit more of a blue purple undertone, and so I like the warm grays for critter coloring, or animal coloring, I guess I should say. So I slowly built up the color. I wasn't exactly how dark I wanted to go, so I really kind of started light and worked my way darker. I used a little R20 for the cheeks and darkened it up where his head and his ear meet his body, any of those little places that naturally would be darker. I'm going to color in with my darkest colors and then blend out really nicely each time to keep my colors blended out really well. And make sure and go over that R20 in the cheek so that it isn't quite so vibrant and bright pink. Once I have the color exactly the way I want, I'm going to add some little dot detail here with my darkest warm gray markers and then work my way to the lighter ones to blend that out. I'm going to gently draw in some grass here using YG25. I just kind of drew in a little slightly sloping line. And then I'm going to color in that entire bottom area to create my grass. Go in with a little YG17 and add some darker areas, and then some darker areas even yet from where he's standing. If you blend it out a little too much, just go back in with that YG17 again. And then I'm going to feather in some grass with YG17 as well. I think this gives a little bit more of a natural look. And then I'm going to take the chisel tip of my blue marker here and quickly color in all the way. Now I am being careful not to color over any of the balloons or anything, so there is a little bit of white space. I can go back then with my brush tip and fill that in and blend it out even more. The chisel tip just makes it so that I can quickly cover a lot of area really fast. Then I'll go in with a little bit darker blue and go around some of those areas just a little bit to darken those up and add some nice shadowing. And if any of those lines are too distinct, like some of them I think around the balloons, you can really see that blue line. You don't want to see it quite that dramatic. Go ahead, go back in with your lighter blue and just kind of flick that out and blend it out a little bit more. So you can see I'm kind of pulling that color out away from each of those, giving it a nice blended look. So there is my entire scene. I am going to go over my balloons now with the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush marker. Give a little bit of sparkle to all of my fun, bright primary balloons. Then I will take a black gel pen and add some detail to the eye. And then I'm going to add a little adhesive to this rectangle square. And before I adhere it to my card, I am going to go ahead and add some adhesive to one of the frames. I actually die cut, I started with 3 frames. I wanted to build up the frames to really frame up the scene, and I'm going to center that in the center of a 4 1/4 inch square card base. And then I can pop that scene right there in the middle. And then I'll add a layer of glue and add my next frame right on top of the first one. Now, I had only done 3 of them to start this card, and one of them had a little bit of a black smudge on it, and I had thought I told my, kind of in the back of my mind, wanted to make that one of the ones that was underneath, and it ended up being the one that was going to be on top. So I die cut another frame to pop on top of that. So it ended up being 4 frames, 4 of these little stitched square frames framing up the inside of my scene. And then I took the happy birthday from the Unforgettable stamp set and stamped that in the middle. So the card is so very sorry I forgot. And then on the inside it'll say happy birthday. Here is where I realized that that last frame here, I'm going to go ahead and pop the 3rd one on. And it had a black smudge in the upper right corner. So I went ahead and popped it on there. In fact, I think the black smudge came probably from my finger. I am using acrylic blocks to hold that frame down just until the glue dries. There it is up in that top corner. So I did go ahead and add 1 more. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing some fun elephant stamping and coloring. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching.